The sun dipped below the horizon. A peaceful suburban neighborhood. Houses lined the street, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. An eerie serenity hung in the air. One house stood out, old-fashioned, windows like vacant eyes. A dimly lit porch beckoned. Shadows danced in the fading light. The house seemed to hold its breath. It whispered a silent invitation.
Sighs. Emily tossed in her sleep. A cold sweat clung to her skin. The nightmare began. Again, she found herself drawn to the house.
The whispers started. Softly at first, like the wind through the trees. They grew louder, urging her forward. The shadows stretched out, reaching for her. Emily couldn't resist their pull. She was trapped.
Breathing heavily, Emily stepped onto the porch. The wood creaked under her weight, each step echoing through the silent night. The door swung open with a slow, eerie creak, as if inviting her in. The air inside was stale, heavy with the scent of decay and something else she couldn't quite place. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for her next move.
Family photos lined the walls, their frames covered in a thin layer of dust. Smiling faces stared back at her, frozen in time, but as she moved closer, the atmosphere seemed to shift. The smiles on the photos began to change, slowly twisting into expressions of despair. Their eyes, once filled with joy, now reflected a haunting fear. It was as if the house was trying to tell her something, to warn her of the secrets it held within its walls. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She knew she had to keep going to uncover the truth hidden in this forsaken place. The floorboards groaned under her feet as she ventured further into the house. Shadows danced on the walls, creating eerie shapes that seemed to follow her every move. She could hear faint whispers, almost like the house was speaking to her, urging her to leave while she still could. But Emily was determined. She had come too far to turn back now. She reached the end of the hallway and found a door slightly ajar. Taking a deep breath, she pushed it open and stepped inside. The room was dark, the only light coming from a small window covered in grime. In the center of the room stood an old wooden chest. Emily approached it cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She knelt down and slowly lifted the lid, revealing the house's darkest secret.
Gasping, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. Footsteps thundered down the stairs, heavy and menacing. She ran towards the sound, compelled by an unknown force.
Softly, she found herself at the end of a long corridor. A child's bedroom stood at the end. The door creaked open, revealing a room frozen in time.
A rocking horse swayed gently in the dimly lit room, its wooden frame creaking with each movement. Its vacant eyes seemed to follow me wherever I went, as if it were alive. Dolls lay scattered across the floor, their porcelain faces cracked and chipped, remnants of a forgotten time. The room was filled with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional creak of the floorboards.
A chill ran down Emily's spine as she stepped further into the room. She approached the vanity, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. The silver-backed mirror on the vanity reflected her terrified face, her wide eyes filled with fear. She could feel the cold air around her, as if the room itself was alive and watching her every move.
Then, as I stood there, another face appeared behind me in the mirror. Pale and gaunt, its eyes glowed with an eerie light that seemed to pierce through my soul. I could feel its presence, cold and menacing, as it stared at me with an intensity that made my heart race. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I was frozen in place, unable to move or look away.
The mirror shattered suddenly, the sound of breaking glass echoing through the room. Shards of glass flew everywhere, glinting in the dim light as they scattered across the floor. Emily shielded her face with her arms, feeling the sharp pieces cut into her skin. The room seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy, the air thick with tension and fear. She knew she had to get out, but the door seemed so far away.
I stumbled back, my heart racing. I had to escape. but the house held me captive.
The whispers grew louder, mocking her fear, guiding her towards the basement door.
She descended into the darkness, each step heavier than the last. The air grew thick, suffocating.
A child's laughter echoed through the empty space.
The basement was a labyrinth of shadows and flickering lights. Cobwebs hung from every corner and dust lay thick on the floor.
I felt a presence watching me, toying with me.
She spun around, searching for the source, but there was nothing there. Only the sound of her own ragged breathing.
I was alone, or so I thought. A soft melody reached her ears, childlike and innocent. It seemed to be coming from the far end of the basement. The tune was familiar, yet she couldn't place where she had heard it before. It was as if it was calling out to her, beckoning her to uncover its source. The basement was dimly lit, shadows dancing on the walls as the melody grew louder with each step she took.
Emily cautiously made her way towards the sound, drawn by an irresistible.
Emily tried to run, but her feet felt like lead. She was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. The music box played on, its melody twisting and turning, driving her mad.
The basement door slammed shut, plunging her into darkness. The music stopped, the laughter faded, only silence remained, a silence more terrifying than any sound.
Emily, 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 it was just a dream, a nightmare. Emily, 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 Emily. But the house, the music box, the laughter, it all felt too real. The day passed in a blur. Emily, Emily, but I couldn't escape the feeling that I was being watched. Emily, 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 Emily. Emily, but the pull was too strong. S2, whispering voices, beckoning her back to the house. Whispering voices back to the basement. Emily, 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 I knew I shouldn't go in there. Emily, but I couldn't stay away from it. Emily, Emily, it felt so real. Emily, just like in my dream. Emily, Emily. Emily, dark and foreboding. Emily, Emily, its melody beckoned me closer. Emily, but this time I wouldn't let fear control me. Emily, 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 Emily. I had faced my fears. Emily, I had escaped the nightmare. Emily, or so I thought. Emily, 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 Emily.